Suscríbete y comparte.
Buenas, volvemos con The First Tree, el primer árbol. Y nos quedamos por este lado. De hecho, acabamos de cambiar el mapa cuando terminamos el capítulo anterior. Y ahora simplemente aquí estamos de nuevo. Lo ideal sería buscar un lugar alto para de allí mirar de lejos y guiarnos hacia donde queremos. Un cohete. Mira, acá hay otro. Ya nos saltó otra. Acá hay otro pedazo de historia. Entonces simplemente vamos por ella y averiguar cuál es.
My teenage years were full of sketching, angst, and trouble. I wasn't popular or unpopular. Maybe just forgettable. I guess that gave me a sense of freedom. So I hung out with crazy kids, doing crazy things, even though I mostly just watched the chaos ensue. We did it all. Put fireworks in mailboxes, hide roadkill in people's garages, break windows of the barber shop in Anchorage. My dad was furious, but he was so busy working he couldn't do much to stop me from going out.
I think being an adult means there's no one to stop you making hard decisions. He had to make a living, and he couldn't be in two places at once.
Yeah, I realize that now. But at the time, I was sure he was more interested in growing his business than what was going on with me.
Creo que este es un valle. O más bien es como muy filosófico, porque cuando vamos recordando las memorias y las recorremos todas, como que de cierta manera las montañas que impiden nuestros pasos se nos van apartando, y eso hace que continuemos al siguiente nivel cuando superamos nuestro pasado y todo eso.
He was working another late night, and my friends were over, saying how bored they were and how they had come all the way out to my house for nothing. One of them mentioned how that old, ugly beyond belief truck was still in the garage, and how we should take it for a spin. I was only 15, so I kind of fought it for a while. The next thing I knew, we were careening around the mountain path, rocks spitting onto the sides of the cliff, while my dad's cringeworthy bluegrass blared out the speakers. I drove while my friends were in the back of that yellow and purple truck, throwing beer bottles and trash at anything remotely interesting.
Esta es nueva.
Felt like I was soaring in the air with borrowed wings. But all good things have endings. A cop outside of Eagle River pulled us over after he saw us send a bottle rocket into someone's yard. What followed was a long night of talking to disappointed adults and feeling smaller than ever.
Sí, es morada. Ah, amigo, y creo que me da el poder de volar. Ah, me da el poder de los vientos. ¿Será que si me la llevo de aquí y la llevo para allá podré pasar? Quiero ver si me sigue. Oh, sí me lo puedo llevar. Creo que al final sí me tengo que... Y conforme vamos avanzando por la vida, encontramos nuevas formas de atravesar los obstáculos. Oye, qué bonita cascada. No sé si realmente se ve exactamente como yo lo veo, pero el juego está muy bien. Creo que vamos hacia allá, pero hay que ir para acá. De una u otra forma es simplemente disfrutar recorriendo el camino. Esta no la había visto.
After he drove me home from the police station, I blew up at him, saying how I never wanted to be like him, how I was going to be someone and leave that hick icebox for good. He just looked forward at the road with tired eyes. I took out that bluegrass tape from the cassette deck and chucked it out the window. In my sage teenage wisdom, I thought I had proved the ultimate point. But my dad had a different idea. He slammed the brakes, slowly bowed his head while gripping the steering wheel, and finally looked at me. All he said, like it was a polite request, was, "Make this right." I sat there in silence, fuming, but I eventually got out and combed every square inch of the woods, muttering profanity after profanity. I found it 30 minutes later, near a small waterfall off the road. I went back to the truck, put the wet tape back in, and sure enough it worked. We didn't speak another word to each other the rest of the night.
Wow, I knew you were a crazy teenager, but...
It's hard to believe, isn't it? It surprises me too. It's like I didn't really know who that kid was back then. I bet my dad thought the same thing over and over. It's almost like he was saying, "Make this right," to himself, more than to me.
Bueno, por ahí no se pudo pasar entonces. Cómo me encanta la melodía del piano. Tengo que llegar hasta allá arriba y de ahí pasar para allá. Mi recomendación es escuchar este juego y jugarlo con audífonos, porque se nota una gran diferencia. ¿Se puede hacer dobles? Uy, sí se puede. Ahí hay otra. Ala, ala, ala. Entonces se pueden ir guardando. Va, es aquella e ir a la camioneta. O ir hacia allá. Bueno, voy a cortar esa parte a ver cuál es cuál.
My friends would laugh about that night and talk about how crazy it was, and I laughed along, pretending it didn't bother me. But it did. I imagined my friends growing old in the bush, unable to find that thrill in those godforsaken ice fields. It's like those mountains were a literal wall, keeping me from leaving, where all I would have to look forward to are lumber yards and evening beers. I had to climb over. That was my only goal for a long time.
Vaya pedazo de luz.
If there was some way I could take my love of drawing and turn it into a way of escape, nothing would make me happier. I wanted to create instead of tearing trees down. I wanted to move to the lower 48, not because I hated it there in Alaska, but I hated the idea of it. It's like all of that spite inside me had created this monster which followed me around my whole teenage years. I put so much energy into doing what others didn't expect of me. Why did I do that?
There's one fact you're forgetting, though. If you didn't have that fire in you, we probably would have never met.
You're absolutely right. Maybe the destination is all that matters in the end. But then why am I awake? Why am I seeing this fox go on her journey? And why can't I stop thinking about my dad?
Y se acabó.